lot to say about glass. It's probably the most magical material of all the materials. It's a very mercurial. It can take all kinds of forms. Glass is a material that you can change by adding just by changing the metal oxides in the batch. And actually glass is not a material in itself, but the scientists really refer to it as a state of matter. So, for example, when you have a volcano and it's erupting, that molten rock that cools very quickly is lava. That's a glassy state. So that's a glassy state for rock. So what we understand as glass is not a liquid and it's not a solid. It is a rigid liquid. And so because it doesn't have a normal crystalline structure, it's really capable of doing a lot of different kinds of things. So it's a very unusual material, a material that we're probably only really beginning to discover. When you go into the sculpture gallery, you'll see a pyramid made out of cast glass that's brilliant red. And this is by a Czech couple named Stanislav Lubensky and Jaroslava Brychtova, who pioneered the use of cast glass as a medium for contemporary sculpture. And they did this during the communist regime in Czechoslovakia. They exploit glass in a way, and when you look at a lot of people who use glass for sculpture, they're going to look at certain things. And what they look at are, what are the qualities unique to this material? We talked about transparency and translucency, very important. Glass can also be used as a metaphor. It can be used as a metaphor for water, for ice, for sky, all these kind of different kinds of things. And the Lubenskys, who were husband and wife, even though they have different names, use glass as a metaphor for spirit. So what they do is they present you with a geometric form, in this case a pyramid. Light shines through it. Glass is the only material that can capture light and hold it in its mass. And the metaphor for that is light captures glass and holds it in its mass, like the spirit is held in the mass of the physical body.
We're very interested in the genesis of the project, and you brought up this issue about the Corning Glass Center, which for me is about big science. And that comes from Laurie Anderson, the singer, conceptual artist, because most of us think that science is safe, or that that kind of knowledge brings us to a sense of stability. But we know that actually big science really doesn't. It's not about safety, it's about chaos, and it's about diversity and all kinds of things like neutrinos. So when we were faced with thinking about Corning, which is both an art museum, but it's also a big, huge corporation and produces all sorts of different products all over the world, we began to think about big science and the role that glass plays in big science. So when you go up to the building, you have to take a leap of faith. You have to go through the front door, and actually the front door, you're surrounded by glass, which is neither vertical nor horizontal. So glass out of plumb has a very, very good probability it might fall. So we got into issues of gravity instantly, and that could be a pun actually, because it's a grave situation when you begin to trust science and find yourself in a new place. It was not easy to build. We used all of the ability of all of the computers we had to try to figure out how to find the dimensions of all these pieces. I think you'll see that in Frank Gehry's work, he uses computers, and a lot of architects are doing that all the time. But this was a real nightmare because we had lost contact with Euclid, the three axes, X, Y, the horizon, the vertical, the 90-degree, the trigonometry, the familiar devices that have been used for 2,000 years to make buildings. The plumb bob. The building is not at right angles. And so when you see yourself in the reflection of the glass, it's different. This was quite an experiment at that time when we built it. We were working on lots of different levels of this building. Personally, I still find it problematic. It was a phenomenal experiment. It was unbelievably hard to build. There are parts of it that I can't stand. There are other parts that I love.
People all over the world really come to use our facilities to learn more about historical glass. So we really not only present Corning products and contemporary glass, but really go back to the very early stages of glass making, very early beads, the earliest vessels coming from Mesopotamia and Egypt, through the Roman period, through Renaissance Venice, through the 19th century in Europe. So we really try to cover kind of everything. So for someone interested in any form of glass, this is just a great place to come to learn about all of its manifestations. We're not an art museum, we're not a history museum, and we're not a science museum. We're really all of those things because we're a museum about a material. And our mission is to tell the world about glass.